they're trying to work really hard, it seems, to cast doubt on the traditional view of hell. And again, I think there's a more plausible reading, or at least a plausible reading, than universalism or eternal conscious torment. And I'm going to give you a chance to kind of lay out your kind of case for that at the end. But now we're starting in this next clip to get a little bit more just in your sweet spot. So yeah, she's going to talk about kind of the origin of hell. And again, she may be correct, and you may say, yep, that's exactly where it came from, or she may not be correct. And that's why I'm interested to hear kind of what your thoughts are. So let's go ahead and play this clip and respond.
He was made Bishop of Hippo in North Africa. He didn't know Greek. He had tried to study it, but stated that he hated it. Sadly, in his misunderstanding of Greek, he cemented the concept of eternal hell in the Western Church. Augustine not only said that hell was eternal for the wicked, but also for anyone who wasn't a Christian. So complete was his concept of God's exclusion of non-Christians that he considered unbaptized babies as damned. When these babies died, Augustine softened slightly to declare that they would be sent to the upper level of hell. And he's also the inventor of the concept of hell light, also known as purgatory, which he developed to accommodate some of the universalist verses in the Bible. So that's kind of his...
So he created his own doctrine, and then he allowed the Bible to inform some of the concessions he made to sound less harsh.
So they're talking about Augustine, if anybody didn't catch that. That was a quote from Augustine, or just kind of the idea of Augustine. And they're basically saying that he's almost the father of this view of eternal conscious torment. So, Chris, is Augustine to blame for eternal conscious torment kind of gaining ground in the Christian church?
Well, when you pose the question that way, yes, I think he is. He was one of only 4, I think, bishops in the East and in the West that the tradition calls the Great Church Fathers. Right? We have a host of church fathers, dozens and dozens of them, but there's a select group of 4, I think, 2 in the East and 2 in the West, who are identified as great church fathers, and Augustine is one of them. And yeah, he had some problems. Remember, he came from Platonism and Manichaeism, and just like anybody who converts from one worldview to another, they're going to bring with them baggage that will influence how they read the fundamental texts in the new worldview, or the ways of thinking in the new worldview is going to be colored by the baggage they bring with them. That just happens to all of us. And yes, he being one of these great church fathers, I think, is primarily responsible for the popularity of the doctrine of eternal torment, and it's becoming the dominant view ever since him. But what I think is a mistake is, and they didn't explicitly say this, but I have heard some people say this, that Augustine invented the doctrine of eternal torment. That is simply false. He came a couple of hundred years after Tatian of Adiabene and Athenagoras of Athens, who both in the latter half of the 2nd century taught the doctrine of eternal torment. And specifically what they said was that the resurrected bodies of the lost would be every bit as immortal as the resurrected bodies of the saved. They would live forever, and it's just a matter of real estate, right? Are you going to go live your everlasting life in the blissful presence of God, or in the pains of hell? Right. And then after them came Tertullian of Carthage, who said the same kind of thing. So what you have, I think, if you look at those years leading up to Augustine, is you have the doctrine of eternal torment cropping up, and Augustine sort of puts his stamp of approval, as it were, on that view, and so it becomes the dominant view even to this day. That much is true. What I want to point out, though, is that before even Tatian and Athenagoras, in the first half of the 2nd century and even earlier, you have what I think are church fathers that clearly teach my view of hell. Clement of Rome, he's writing in like around 95 AD. Ignatius of Antioch is writing around 100 AD. The Didache, the Epistle of Barnabas, both of those come from either a little before 100 AD or shortly after. And then Irenaeus of Lyon is writing in about 150. So all 5 of these writers are coming before Tatian and Athenagoras, and all of them say that immortality and enduring life are only going to be given to the saved, and that the lost will be destroyed in the same kind of way that Jesus was destroyed when he was crucified on the cross. What you don't, so here's what I think you see if you look at the history in these early centuries of the church. You see the earliest Christians take from Scripture what I have been saying, and then you have the doctrine of eternal torment starting to crop up amongst Christian converts from worldviews in which the soul is immortal and will live forever and can never be destroyed and so forth. And they are able to get rid of some of the baggage that they bring with them from those other worldviews into Christianity, but unbeknownst to them, that baggage still colors the way they read certain texts, including when it comes to the doctrine of hell. And so and by the way, as we've already noted, it wasn't first among the Christians. There were Jews who believed in eternal torment as well. And also, by the way, you see right around the same time of Tertullian, I think, you've got Origen, who comes teaching universalism. So by the time of Augustine, you actually have all three views of hell: eternal torment, annihilation, and universalism, all in play. And what's really fascinating is that they don't condemn each other for it. Even Augustine, where he calls people foolish for disbelieving in eternal torment, he doesn't say they're heretics. He doesn't say they're unbelievers. The first time, and none of the ecumenical creeds cement the doctrine of eternal torment as an essential of Christianity. Right. The first time any view of hell appears arguably to be condemned is in the Second Council or Third Council of Constantinople in the 500s. And there they seem to condemn universalism. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble here, but the point of it is that eternal torment and universalism both appear to arise after the earliest Christians taught annihilation. But either way, Augustine was certainly not the inventor of eternal torment. At most, he was the one most responsible for making it the dominant view.
Okay, so I think that's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the conversation that I had with Chris Date. If you're interested in checking out the whole conversation I had with Chris, you can go ahead and click here. As always, if you are dealing with deconstruction, I would invite you to subscribe. Thanks. We'll see you next time on Dealing with Deconstruction.